Happy Devils Thursday. This is the State of the Fan Address titled 6 Weeks Out. Yeah, 6 weeks out before training camp begins. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with PucksandPitchforks.com's editor-in-chief, Nick Villano. Streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network. Coming live from the Primetime Radio Studios from North Jersey and South Jersey. Boy, did you get slammed this afternoon, Nick, with rain? I was worried about you because I didn't hear from you.
Yeah, I was actually waiting. Again, I've been a little under the weather, which is why we moved this from Wednesday to Thursday. But I was waiting. I was on standby. I was like, well, I might lose power. There might be flash flooding. I just had to be on standby. With the family and everything, make sure that everybody was good before we did this. And then it wasn't that bad. It rained harder on like Sunday or Monday. I can't remember what day it was. It definitely rained a ton around us. There was a ton of lightning, a ton of thunder. Well, we didn't get that crazy rainstorm that they were predicting here. Maybe a mile down the road is where they got it. Maybe,
I think Queens got hit pretty hard. Queens, New York.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I saw they had a rain delay at the Yankee game today. And I'm assuming that rain's coming their way again. Mm-hmm. It was the MLB trade deadline today, Sam, and both of our teams came out looking pretty strong.
Yeah.
Some big bullpen.
Yeah, you know what? The Mets bullpen, they can run their starters 3 innings in the playoffs, and they're solid. That bullpen is pretty balanced with the 2 left-handed relievers, and you got 2 right-handed flame-throwing throwers. Right now on the New York Mets, they got their center fielder. And the great thing about the Mets, what they did is they did not trade any top 10 or top 9 prospects in their farm system to get it done.
Yeah, I think that with the Yankees, they only traded their 7th. But they kept Spencer Jones. They kept a lot of the really big names.
Yeah.
And they did get rid of Peraza, who was the guy that they've been holding on to and thought would one day be a star in the league. And it's it is unbecoming of the Yankees where they are gripping to a lot of these prospects because they saw what Aaron Judge turned into. And Aaron Judge was, to be honest, was a prospect they weren't really that high on for a long time. They thought guys like Gary Sanchez and Greg Bird and I know those two. There was another guy that they thought was going to be better than Judge from that era.
Which is interesting because I think Dominic Smith was ranked higher, and actually the Mets drafted him higher than Aaron Judge. But I don't know how anybody could have thought that when you saw Aaron Judge's size.
Right, he's 6'7". He hits the ball a mile. I think there's a similar aspect to NHL prospects, right? You're seeing a lot of really high hopes for prospects. I saw Mike Morial, friend of the podcast, was speaking high on Kasperi Pikkarainen, 3rd-round pick of the Devils, and it's like, there's so much things to love about these prospects to think that it's going to translate. But unless you got like a Roman Anthony in baseball terms, or unless you got like a Misa, like the guy from San Jose, like a guy who's like a sure thing. Maybe gripping these prospects isn't the thing, and that's what I want to get to you, Sam. Is I wrote a piece today on PucksandPitchforks.com. By the way, we're just cramming out articles today, Sam. I'm going to do something that I've never done in the history of PucksandPitchforks.com. Today, after this podcast, we're going to publish our 100th article this month.
Wow.
100 articles in a month. First time it's ever been done. We did 98 last month, so we've been really
and this is the off season, by the way. It's the off season.
Yeah, we're killing it. Not to just be patting ourselves on the back, but we're hitting every rumor. We're really diving deep into the history. I told Sam. Sam is excited because I wrote 1,000 words on Claude Lemieux today, just because I want to do a retrospective. It's lore week at Fansided. But anyway, I talked about 3 guys that I think the Devils could trade for during the season. And I don't usually like to spoil my articles, but I'm going to tell you who the 3 guys are because I kind of want to get your thoughts on them. And these are guys that aren't widely available this offseason. Like, I skipped Jason Robertson and Jordan Cairo because I feel like we've given them so much air. But the 3 guys I said are Alex Tuck of the Buffalo Sabres. He would fit so great next to Jack Hughes. He's got enough grit to keep guys away from him, but he's a 30-plus goal scorer. Alex DeBrincat, the Devils wanted him in 2022. The price was too high for them. They let him go to... Did he go to Ottawa first, or did he go to Detroit? Or was that when he went to Detroit? I can't remember which spot he went to, but he's on Detroit now. Sam, Detroit's in a precarious position. Ottawa and Montreal got a lot better, and I don't think Toronto got worse enough to be out of the playoffs. Florida's going to be great again, and Tampa Bay is Tampa Bay. Like, they're always going to be one of those top 3 teams in the Atlantic. So there's really no room for Detroit. And honestly, with Montreal and Ottawa being better, it could push Detroit pretty far down the standings and make them out of it pretty quickly. So I think the DeBrincat is a guy to watch. And the 3rd guy is, I'm going back to this well, Sam, because it makes too much sense, but I'm going back to Ryan O'Reilly of the Nashville Predators. Again, these aren't guys that are available now. These aren't. I don't even think Tuck. There's a lot of conversation around Tuck. I don't think he's available. Mm-hmm. But I think these 3 guys are going to be available during the season. I think all 3 of those teams are going to be out of it pretty quickly, and I think you can make the trade for any one of them. I just think. What do you think? Like, are you satisfied if Tom Fitzgerald comes out September or October with this press conference and says, "I know we didn't do enough this offseason. My plan is to go after somebody," or are you? Is that not good enough for you? Are you demanding something happens now?
No, I wouldn't be demanding, and I'll tell you the reason why I wouldn't be demanding right now. If it was, I don't think Tom Fitzgerald is at that point where it's either you win the Stanley Cup now or you're gone. And the Devils did make the playoffs last season with guys hurt. I think right now, with the injuries that they have on the blue line, I would just stand pat at this point. I would not overpay. And I wouldn't make a deal just for the sake of making a deal.
I think that's a good point, because since the Timo Meier deal, and even the Timo Meier deal, you have to overpay to get the good player, or the team will just hold on to them and wait. Like, unless it's a free agent, and even if it's a free agent, we saw a couple teams just let the free agent go to free agency because they didn't get their price. The price is more important than recouping on an asset. They would rather let the clock strike 0 and get nothing for them over getting a price that they deem unworthy. And think about it. Like, the Carolina Hurricanes were held over a barrel with Mikko Rantanen, and they still got Logan Stankoven in the deal. They demanded Logan Stankoven. Like, you have to come to play no matter who the player is. And I think you're going to start hearing, like, last year, all the names you really heard were Dawson Mercer and Simon Nemec. Like, those were the names you heard in those trade talks. You didn't really hear the name like Anton Silyev or Mikhail Yigarev or like Lenny Haminaho, Arseniy Grisic. Like, those names, you didn't hear those names. I think you're going to hear those names a little bit more now because I don't think they're going to be taken off the table. Maybe not Grisic. I think Grisic they're really happy with. And they want to see him develop. But those other names, like Shane LaChance, Like I think they're really happy that they got him in the what was it they got in like just to like cover
Trade.
with the Oilers, just to cover some salary cap. Is it the Tanev trade? I can't remember, but it was they were able to just get a nice little prospect there. I think everybody's on the table during the season because they just have to be. I think Fitzgerald loves Silyev and the thought of Silyev, but if I came to you right now and I said you can get the same player for Nemitz and Silyev, who are you trading?
I'm trading Nemitz.
Are you really?
Size is everything for me.
I know, but Nemitz is right-handed. He's not small.
Well,
He's
you still have Seamus Casey. You still have the
Casey's
idea.
Casey's like 5'9".
Yeah, but he's a right-handed. Plus, you still have that potential of Quinn Hughes coming 2 years from now.
Who's left-handed?
I know, but I'm just saying. Yeah, but Dougie Hamilton's still on the team. He's right-handed.
Sure.
You know. So Pesci is right-handed.
Yeah, I mean you'll still have three right-handed between Pesci, Kovacevic, and Hamilton, but one would also ask like, can you fit Hamilton's $9 million and whatever you're gonna have to pay Quinn Hughes? That's a whole different discussion. I would think long and hard about it. I also think it depends on the player, and that doesn't make sense, but for some reason it does to me. Like, if you're doing it for Quinn Hughes, I would rather trade Nemitz. Again, that doesn't make sense because they're both left-handed, but I just think the immediacy of Hughes and the long-term value that you're going to get out of it. Quinn Hughes is coming here for 10 years, 9 years, whatever it is, to play with his brothers and to stick around for the long haul. But if you're trading for, say, DeBrincat, it might be 2 years. And then I think I'd be more inclined to trade Silyev because then you still get the more of an impact from Nemitz. You kind of know Nemitz is at least an NHL player now. Silyev might not be an NHL player. That was the risk you took, is you're drafting a unicorn, but you don't even know if he's an NHL player. Like, the floor is very low on Silyev, and the ceiling is higher than any defenseman that was in that draft. Now, Z Boyum from Minnesota looks like should have been the pick. Just a through-the-roof dynamic. Looks like he's going to make the NHL this year for the Minnesota Wild. But there was, Dickinson was available there. There's a bunch of guys that could have been really good for the Devils there. I think I'd rather trade Silyev for anyone besides like Quinn Hughes or I don't even know, you know what I mean, like somebody who's like more of a long-term aspect but is going to make that immediate presence felt. Somebody who's like a go for it guy, like let's try to win the Stanley Cup guy. I think I want to trade Silyev.
I don't know.
Again, the logic isn't there. I get it. Like it's not my best logic. I understand, but that's where I'm going with it.
Can I change the subject? Real quick.
Should I be worried?
No, it's you shouldn't be worried. Just I've been reading on pucksandpitchforks.com. I didn't know if you knew that David Collins was a good friend of the podcast.
Oh, really?
When you wrote that article. Oh yeah. He took Mrs. Wu and I and Max paid for dinner when we went to the Four Nations. Oh. Yeah. You didn't know that? Yeah, went to the.
You didn't tell me this.
Oh. Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, now there's no conflict of interest. You could take me to dinner too.
Yeah, but yeah, he moved on. He's with the Madison Square Garden Networks. It's in the article. But Ted wanted us to talk about not having a CFO. I say Mrs. Wu puts in her resume to be CFO of the New Jersey Devils. Then then there's no conflict of interest there. But I have her ear. Lower ticket prices now.
Well, here's the thing, Sam, is that when there's no CFO, it's almost like there's no buffer to these decisions at the top. I'm not predicting that prices will go up, but the 2 + 2 = 4 impact on concessions and merchandise and things like that when you raise ticket prices, that's not readily available for the president of the organization or the owners, and those are the ones who are going to be making those decisions with no CFO. It looks like they've added lower level people, and they're not low. I'm sure they're very well compensated, but like if the CFO is an EVP, it looks like we're adding just some regular VPs, like multiple, like 3 different people to kind of fill that role. And I think that's usually comes with a lack of decision-making power. And I'll tell you what, Sam, like I wrote about it, Sam, with the information I had. I'll tell you that. I wrote it with the information that I had.
It's a good article on Pucks and Pitchforks. Yeah, I was reading it while on air. I can multitask. Mrs. Wu doesn't think I can multitask, but I was reading on air, and I'm like, you should. I wish I would have known. I could possibly get you connected. I don't know.
Yeah. Listen, you still can. We can do a follow up and just honestly, like it would be a good interview to talk about the inner workings of the organization. I'll tell you this, Sam. I wrote about it because I think it's significant. I think we're going to see some changes, whether good or bad. I can't tell you what those changes are going to be. Maybe they'll lower ticket prices. Maybe they'll go to a we've heard some complaints about the concessions. Maybe the concessions will go to like that model that Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta has, where it's $6 for a hot dog instead of 13 or whatever it is. Where you're paying like normal restaurant markups instead of crazy stadium markups. And I'll tell you what, Sam, I look at the whole spectrum of things. Basically, what I did, Sam, is I looked at the front office last year, and I looked at the front office this year. That includes the coaching staff. And some of the decisions they made were interesting. I wrote another story, Sam, where the way they structured the coaching staff is... I don't want to get in trouble. How do I say this without getting in trouble? I don't think it can, so I'm just going to say it. I think they cheaped out. They have one less coach, one less assistant coach, because they let Ryan McGill and Chris Taylor go, and they only replaced them with Brad Shaw.
I know why. You want to know why?
Well, hold on. So they let the head video coach go, Jerry Deneen, and they replaced him with. Oh man, his name's escaping me. He announced it again on Twitter today. But they replaced him with just a regular video coach. So there's no head video coach. Now there's just 2 video coaches instead of a head video coach and a video coach. Now there's 4 assistant coaches instead of, I think there was 5 last year, including the goalie coach. I think there was 5 last year, and there's 4 this year. I don't like that strategy. And I'm sure Sheldon Keefe is fine with it because, these coaches are crazy and think that they can lift the weight of the world. But I don't like the strategy of basically, they're right-sizing the coaching staff. They're right-sizing the front office. And you got an ownership group who's spending his money elsewhere. He's got issues over in Philadelphia. He has issues in Washington, where the president is tweeting about or whatever the heck thing he's on.
Actually, that's where I wanted to get into because I'm not going to get into politics or whatever,
Sure.
but I'm going to get into the
But it's
business.
stressful when the president tweets about your franchise.
I'll tell you where the business side is. The president his company used to run Woolman Rink, and guess who got it? Harris Blitzer.
Josh Harris. Yeah.
So I think there's a lot to it, but I also have read that there is leverage there where they may have to flip the names back. Again, I don't want to get into that. But the point is, he bought the Washington Commanders.
Sure.
And it's a lot of money. He had to bring a lot of partners involved. And he's building a brand new state-of-the-art building. He's got his cash cows on autopilot right now, one of them being the New Jersey Devils, because they make their money on concerts. That's where they get their real dough because of that sweetheart deal. And really the Devils are just an anchor and they want to break even.
Right. The Devils are a means to a Forbes list where they don't care if they make money in the Devils. They don't. They care if they lose money in the Devils, but they don't care if they make money in the Devils because the Devils, every time somebody has to buy a piece of the pie for Harris Blitzer Sports Emporium or whatever it's called,
Entertainment.
Sports and Entertainment, I like mine better. I think we should change their name. That's where we should change their name. Make it the Harris Blitzer Sports Emporium. But anyway,
hey, I'm all about it.
But the Devils going from, I think they've paid like somewhere like $325 million or $350 million for the Devils. They're now a $2 billion franchise. And the way Harris Blitzer works is you're buying into their conglomerate. So it's the $6 billion Washington Commanders. It's the $4 billion 76ers. And it's the $2 billion Devils. So you can't buy 5% of the Devils. Like, that's not for sale. You'd have to buy 5% of the ownership stake within Harris Blitzer Sports Emporium, which means instead of coming in and be like, I want 5% of a sports team, so I would pay, whatever that is, like $100 million or whatever it is. Now you have to pay like $700 or $800 million just to get a 5% stake in that. And the added value that all this it's more than that because it's Crystal Palace and it's a bunch of I think the Cleveland Indians part ownership is in there, or maybe that's something Blitzer has on the side. I'm not really sure. It's all of this and the fact that you have to invest in all of it is important. I think that's all it is. So he does want the books to look good. And I'm not going to sit here and say that's why David, your friend, or the friend of the podcast, David, went to MSG.
Yep.
David Collins. But
well, you were talking about the staff. You were talking about like video staff and all that. So sure. I was just lumping that in and the cutting costs, less is more. Yeah. Efficiency, if you want to call it
right.
that.
But that all runs up to the CFO.
Yeah.
Right, you run the budget by the CFO, and that includes staff.
I wonder if the CFO of the Commanders is now doing the books for the other. I don't know how it works. I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised, Sam. These are guys who come from hedge funds, and hedge funds are. I mean, I hate to be this guy and just lump them all together, but like. A hedge fund is about efficiency. Straight up.
Well, I mean,
go in.
I use this example all the time. I believe it was Harris Blitzer's Joshua Harris's hedge fund, Apollo. I think one time bought Twinkie. You know Twinkie?
Yeah.
And I guess the confectioner union, bakery union, oh, we won't come back. So okay, we're going bankrupt, and suddenly this hedge fund buys it, and then we suddenly got our Twinkies back.
Yeah.
That Twinkie, today's Twinkie, does not taste like the Twinkie before the hedge fund bought it.
I have a gripe. I have a gripe here that I want to talk. Can I say my gripe?
Go right ahead. Go right ahead. Don't let me interrupt you.
I used to love, and I'm not this guy. Like I feel like this was my like pinky in the air. But I used to love Rouse. Used to love Rouse sauce, and it got bought by Kraft, and now it just tastes like ragu. There's something off. Like they use a different kind of oil. That's more of an olive oil blend.
Yep.
Instead of the extra virgin olive oil straight. You cut little corners when you're a conglomerate. You save on the margins, and when the margins are, I had a business. I have a minor in business. So a lot of the business classes, you learn all these stories if you have the right professor. And we learned about shrinkflation. It used to be considered like this titans of business. They gave me this example of this olive company. They used to have a 360 jar of olives, like it's the Costco sized jar of olives. And they were like, "Oh, how do we save money? Do we use different packaging? Do we, change our lids? Do we change our marketing strategy to try to bring in more money?" And this guy is like, "If we remove 2 olives from everything, over 7,000 things of olives, we'll save the money that we need to save." And eventually, all companies did this. But there's shrinkflation in every industry. You know what I mean? In finance, in technology, in tech, or I guess that's technology, in hospitality. You used to go to a hotel and there was always 3 people at the desk and 10 people working rooms, but now you got 2 people at the desk and 7 people working rooms. You know what I mean? And it's happening everywhere.
Even AI is going to replace us podcasters too. Just watch.
We might be AI. You never know. Maybe we're fake. Maybe this is all the Matrix.
I know I'm real.
You don't know though.
No, you don't know. That's right.
Yeah, I saw this funny meme, and we're coming towards the end here, so I'll make this quick. But I saw this funny meme that said, what's a ridiculous conspiracy theory that you listen to? And like Twitter, that can go in a dark place. But this one was funny. They said that The Matrix came out in 1999. And in The Matrix, the only way you can get out of The Matrix is by using a payphone, I guess, or by using a landline. And they said since The Matrix came out, landlines have become less and less relevant. And more people are getting rid of their landlines. And payphones are basically, you can't find them. Nowhere has a payphone that works anymore. So they're like, somebody saw on The Matrix, the way to get out of The Matrix is to use a landline and a payphone. So they got rid of them. So we're all stuck in The Matrix. We're stuck, Sam. I don't know.
Wow.
That was terrible.
Wow.
I'll say that, Sam. We haven't brought up Blue Qs yet. Do you think that ownership has any reason why this Luke Hughes thing hasn't signed? Are they trying to cheap out on Luke Hughes?
No, because I think what's happening is the Devils are very strategic in announcing their timing. I think the deal is already done without sources or anything. I bet you the deal is already done, but because like a
We gotta
good,
move.
I think what the problem is they probably have something in principle, but I think it all boils down to Palat. Nobody wants him,
Yeah. Yeah, that could
and
be. When we
and
lost, I mean, the
and
buyout wouldn't have been good this year, but yeah.
and if you announce right now that you have Luke Hughes on a 4-year, 8-year deal, X amount of dollars, you don't want to give the other team leverage. Oh,
Sure.
I'm going to trade you a couple pucks for Palat because I know you need
Yeah.
to unload him, and we got the
I mean, at
cap
this
space.
point, I would take a couple pucks.
Yeah,
You kind of just need that offside. I mean, yeah, I would attach like a 6th-round pick to it. I don't want to attach something of value. Because I did think at the beginning of the offseason that you could get something of value. You got something of value for Holla.
yeah.
But, of course, Holla has a much cheaper contract. It's only 1 year. But, yeah, I mean, here's the thing is I think the Devils are going to look at this situation. I think you're not completely wrong. I do think there's a disagreement on term. I think Fitzgerald is holding out for 8 years. Because remember, this is the only time ever that Tom Fitzgerald could sign him for 8 years. That becomes 7 next year.
Yep.
So, like, say they sign a 1-year deal and they want to do an extension. It can only be a 7-year extension, so it can't be an 8-year extension. Because July 1st next year, when the contract goes into effect, 8-year deals are outlawed. They don't exist anymore. So you want to do it now if you're going to do 8 years. And again, essentially, if you sign a 1-year deal and then a 7-year deal, it's the same thing. But you also have to remember that if you sign him to a 1-year deal, he's offer sheet eligible next year. Not that any GM really cares about that. Nobody wants to pay the 4 first-round picks it would take to get Luke Hughes. But would a desperate Vancouver team do it?
I think.
Let me ask you this. This is how I'm going to end it. If you're Vancouver, is there any reason not to give Luke Hughes $14 million a year to ensure that he leaves and stays with his brother?
I think the Hughes family, especially their dad being their agent, would probably
Pat
want.
Preston's technically the agent.
Yeah, well,
That has a bit, but that's not.
I
abnormal.
think they want to see a concrete plan of how they're going to win the Stanley Cup. On top of that, I don't know
They're
how.
not going to go to Colorado, or they're not going to go to Vegas. I mean, I guess they could, but
I mean, what's great about New Jersey is you got 2 of them here. They know how the Harris Blitzer Sports Emporium, if you want to call them that,
right.
how they roll, and
They let Jack do pretty much whatever he wants.
pretty much, yeah. I mean,
And he doesn't. To his credit, he doesn't want to do anything detrimental. But he's had pretty much any marketing plan that he's wanted. He's has pretty much any, outside venture that he's wanted. And Jack is a good soldier. He does all the charity events. He goes to the hospitals. He does the sweep the deck gala. But yeah, it's definitely something to just keep an eye on.
yeah.
I think it's term more than it's cash. I'm sure that they can agree on the number for cash, but it's trying to get him signed for 8 years. But anyway, that's all I got, Sam.
Oh, any plugs?
Well, I plugged a couple articles, but yeah, pucksfittricks.com has we post every day. We're posting multiple times a day. Is there an article? Oh, I talked about the red and the green jerseys for Lore Week. That's up on pucksandpitchforks.com. I wrote about NHL partnering with DAZN for international streaming. I know we got some international listeners, so anybody outside of North America looking for NHL games, there's a new way to stream them. That's on pucksandpitchforks.com. There's John Bailey talked about Jacob Markstrom. Jersey Joe wrote something on Brad Shaw's impact on the defense. Neil wrote about Jack Hughes having the best contract in the sport. We got articles on articles on articles.
All right. Well, I want to thank all those tuning in, dropping the podcast at midnight. Go to pucksandpitchforks.com. Till next time, let's go Devils.